So I have a new Street Fighter figure, and this is Dan from Street Fighter Alpha 3, produced by Storm Collectibles in their Storm Arena line. And this is the first Storm Arena figure that I've bought, and the reason is because all the other figures thus far I own as Bandai SH Figure Arts figures, and they're very similar, and I'm going to actually do kind of a comparison between the two. I bought this one for $30 off a Big Bad Toy Store. The uh, Figure Arts figures from Bandai, those run more in like a sixty to $70 range, some even higher. And but when I went on Amazon, these Storm Arena figures were selling for more in the line of like the 60 or $70. So I'm going to go with $30 because I figure that those ones on Amazon are third-party sellers who are, for whatever reason, marking the figures up significantly. So given the price disparity between Storm Arena and Bandai, I kind of wanted to do a comparison just to see what justifies that price difference. So here is just one of my Bandai figures. This is Ken, and so sometimes pictures don't really tell the full picture. So I kind of wanted to hold them in my hand, feel the articulation, or look at the engineering, the articulation, and see if I could figure out why Storm Collectibles figures are so much cheaper, at least at this scale. And I think this figure is awesome. I think it's fantastic. I think overall, like the sculpting of the body, I'm gonna have to give the edge to Storm Arena because he's got like broader shoulders. It always was kind of weird how narrow the shoulders are in Ken. Also, so the this gi is split in two. So this top half and this bottom half are not attached, so that um, he has waist articulation. Whereas this is all one piece. So he will turn, but it's at a different point. I think this is better designed. I think that the Bandai figure is actually over engineered. It's got more engineering in the shoulders, but I don't think it adds to the yeah, he could get a bit more range of motion, but I don't think it's worth what it goes through. And so, you can kind of see in there, and it looks a little weird unless it's kind of popped in there. The gi, for whatever reason, the shoulders, they're separate pieces, and I don't understand why it's like that. It's not a bad figure. It's a perfectly fine figure. The articulation is very nice, but like I said, I think the engineering's a little. Also, for whatever reason, the neck piece is a different color from the rest of the figure. There's really nice shading in here, but I think overall I prefer the Storm Collectibles. And just holding them, they're about the same weight. So it's not that they're using, as far as I could tell, cheaper materials. And it feels really nice. So I think I'm going to go with Storm Collectibles. And the reason I like Dan is because Dan is a less well-known figure. All these figure makers, whether it's Jada or Bandai, I'm not even sure if they're making them anymore. They're kind of all making the same figures, whereas Dan is a little bit different. And when I first started collecting, it was Storm Collectibles, or I'm sorry, it was Street Fighter that I started with, and that was when right as Soda and NECA were kind of finished. And so I actually own none of those figures, but Soda was doing a lot of the more lesser known characters, and that's kind of what I want. Characters like Dan, and then we have Nash coming out with Storm Arena. So those are figures that I really kind of want. The lesser known ones. I don't need another Ken. I don't need another Ryu or Chun-Li. As far as the articulation, I think it's very nice. The joints are all smooth, and they're not loose. And he's got great range of motion. So, for instance, you could kind of drop the legs down a little bit. It looks a little bit strange, but then he can go into the full splits. Um, push it back up. It's double hinged joints, so it really gets a lot of range. Okay, we have thigh swivel, which I'm not really that into the thigh swivel, but I think it does give you the ability to, to do some more things with the figure. So I'm not usually like a fan of thigh swivel, but I think it works here. And it's got very nice balance too. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to demonstrate this. I did it on my own earlier, but to be able to, and this was something that impressed me about the Bondi figures, was the balance. Am I not going to be able to do this? Okay, so there you go. So there he is kicking. And it is game accurate in the sense that they got some big feet, but that also helps out with being able to stand him up nicely. So I really like this figure. It, again, because it was $29, which I know $29 is not an insignificant amount, but I kind of was expecting less. And the gi is textured, which I think is pretty neat. At least the bottoms are, to give it a fabric type feel. I like the feel of the top of the gi. His ponytail is hinged, so that's cool. This tuft of hair there, it's kind of stiff. This is not intended for children. It's not a toy for children. So if you gave it to a child, this piece would probably break off. This piece will come off, but it's supposed to. Overall, love it. Love this figure. I definitely will get more. I have Nash on pre-order. The box is very nice size for the figure, so it's not any larger than it needs to be. I believe that's probably artwork from the original game, and so it's got kind of the callbacks to the video game Street Fighter Alpha. This background in here with the swing set, that you could pull that out and use that as a background for the figure if you want. I've never done that. And then it shows different poses you can put the figure in. And, I couldn't get it to go in this pose, but I think if I manipulated it enough. But look at all those poses. That's really nice. That's very impressive. So good for them to be able to produce this for $30. That's very impressive. I'm kind of used to Bondi and Figma, and some of these are very expensive, but this is a reasonably priced figure. So we also have a yelling face. We don't have any fun faces. It's just two faces, something like this, a goofy taunt or something. But not a big deal. And we've got, there are 3 sets of alternate hands, so there would be a hand which would be, okay, so let me show this. So you have like an open hand, and then we have the stand, which I did not open. It's in a, I don't think I'm ever going to open it, but I assume that there's no instructions, but I assume this will allow the his Hadouken or whatever to be in the air. And if you open it up, let's see here. If you open it up, so it's got the hand in it. Really neat. They just did a really neat job on this. So you could have him throwing his weak Hadouken. So I'm going to give this figure high marks, and I definitely will get figures. I'm not going to go out and rebuy the ones I already have, which is Ken Ryu and all the other figures that already other figure makers have made. Dan was created by Soda also, but again, I don't own any of the Soda figures, and I've heard that their quality was not the greatest. This is really nice, and I think that I've heard that their colors would fade over time, but I love this figure. I think this is at least as good as the Bondi figures, and perhaps better. Very, very nice. So, yeah, good job, Storm Collectibles. Good job putting it out at a reasonable price. So that is Dan from Street Fighter 3, produced by Storm Collectibles in Storm Arena.